Welcome everyone, Christine here with a discussion about Alarielle the Radiant Everqueen, the chosen of Isha, though really she should be calling herself the Avatar of Khaine, or even Khorne really, considering what she's going to be doing in a campaign. And what is Alarielle going to be doing in a campaign? Well, she's going to do what every self-respecting High Elf Legendary Lord is going to do. Go pick up the Sword of Khaine, because why not? Why would you not pick up the Sword of Khaine? It's a really powerful item that you can make even more powerful with its ability. So, Alarielle is not exactly exceptional in combat in terms of like her skill line over here. Like her magic skills, I mean, they do work, but they're not especially terrific. She's more of a stats hero for the campaign purposes. Give her the Sword of Khaine though, and that will obviously change. Now, of course, anyone can pick up the Sword of Khaine. Non-High Elf or Dark Elf characters can do so if someone else has picked it up, which someone inevitably will, generally speaking Alariel, and become an absolute nightmare to deal with in a campaign. But here's the thing about the Sword of Khaine. The Sword of Khaine has some very significant downsides. Diplomatic relations, control in all your provinces, and control for the High Elves actually does matter quite a lot, because having 100 control in your provinces does boost your economy fairly significantly. Like over here, it's taking me a while to get to 100 control in my provinces, though I'm certainly on my way in certain parts of them. But regardless, when you've got when you're playing the High Elves, having a good level of control is actually going to be very important, because your economy gets buffed with it. I'd probably recommend playing the High Elves with the no public order penalty mod for legendary difficulty, but it only really matters in the early game, because in the late game you're going to be steamrolling with the High Elves in a way that you might not imagine in any other campaign. But here's the thing about Alarielle and the diplomatic relations downside. Alarielle is so ridiculous in her campaign that it doesn't matter. Wherever she goes, she leaves the power of nature, which puts control, growth, reduces corruption, and adds influence in your campaign. So every territory she visits in her campaign is going to get this light buff over there. So control is inherently, as she's conquering more and more territory and moving across that territory, control is going to be less of an issue. Generally speaking, the control issue comes down to what happens initially in a campaign as opposed to what is going to happen later down the line. Okay, and by the way, the Sword of Khaine effect is ridiculous. Let's just put it like that. It's like you've just picked up a weapon of mass destruction, and it should be treated as such. But what about the diplomatic relations situation? Because High Elves do depend significantly on their diplomatic relations, because a lot of their economy is based on trade. Like over here, I'm generating almost 30k at turn 42, but 10k of that, almost 10k of that, is 10k of that is based on trade. So High Elves do need good diplomatic relations. That's the real kicker over here with the Sword of Khaine, that it does affect your diplomatic relations. And then comes in Alarielle, who doesn't really care about any of that. So, what makes her so very powerful? She gets influence cost of minus 25% for intrigue at court. So, you know how you can use influence in every campaign to really significantly improve your diplomatic relations, even with factions that may hate your guts, even with factions that you might have declared war and burned their cities to the ground, like over here I did that with Ostankia, and now she's my military ally. Yeah, you can do this cheaper with Alarielle. To be fair, I don't think I even spent that much influence on Ostankia. I think I spent a bit, if any at all. So you can do this cheaper. She also gets the Greater Invocation of Isha and the Invocation of Lilith. Now, the Greater Invocation of Isha is not really too significant. It gives regeneration for Dryad, Streak, and Treeman. And yes, you can recruit those units through a landmark in your capital over here in the game in Vale. Gives you the ability of recruiting these Forest Spirit units, and also gives you an upkeep benefit for these Forest Spirit units that goes all the way to 10%. Isn't that a hell of a Wood Elf benefit? But then you get Invocation of Leaf, which gives you more magic item drop chance, so you can get more items in her campaign. And then you get 2 handmaiden capacity, and you gain benefits. Also downsides with regards to Wolf 1. So if any part of Wolf 1 is not under the Kyle control, you get some downsides. They're not really significant, assuming inner Ulf-1, so everything that's in the inner part over here, including the gates, including the Phoenix Gate, which starts under the control of the Dark Elves. If any part of inner Ulf-1 especially is not under your control, you're going to be hit with significant penalties. But once you do gain control over all of Ulf-1, or all of Ulf-1 is under High Elf control, so it doesn't really matter if you're fighting High Elves, like just take the territory of Ulf-1, give it to High Elves, and then kill them later for that territory. Great way to make money in this campaign, because, you know, remember, you just need High Elves to control Ulf-1. Yeah, it's kind of busted as a mechanic. It's kind of ridiculous that in every High Elf campaign that's in Ulf-1, you want to fight fellow High Elves. Yeah, it's a bit ridiculous. But regardless, she does get some significant benefits, including benefits to control. Just a bit of a control benefit, diplomatic relations with High Elves, so not with all factions, but the High Elves. And a leadership benefit if you're in the positive. It's not going to be significant and you're going to struggle to get it to 100%, but still. Or it's going to take time to get it to 100%. But that's just really the start of it. We haven't even dived right in. Her Lord effects, those lingering benefits, missile strength for Sisters of Avalorn and handmaidens. And then we get two skill lines. You either get Tradition Dictates or Blood and Fire. I'll be blunt in saying this, never go Blood and Fire. You don't need it. You don't need Casualty Replenishment. Ward Save could be nice, but really, Blood and Fire is useless compared to Tradition Dictates. Tradition Dictates gives you 2 control in all provinces, increases your income by 5% faction-wide. That's already ridiculous. Reduces construction costs by 10% in the province. 15 relations with the High Elves, gives you recruitment durations for Sisters of Avalorn of -1, so you can recruit them faster, and then you get Servant of Isha, and it's really Servant of Isha that breaks the game. So you already have 2 handmaiden capacity. You start with a handmaiden, then you're going to get 2 more. So you can have 5 handmaidens with this skill line, faction recruitable faction-wide. And that is where things get ridiculous with Alariel. And we aren't even finished. So you see, handmaidens are probably the most broken, overpowered heroes from a campaign perspective. Not the battle perspective, they're not really that special. But from a campaign perspective, they have the Alarielle the Everqueen, which gives you 2 diplomatic relations with all factions. So the Sword of Khaine, get 5 handmaidens. Which, oh wait, incidentally, you start with in a campaign. Funny thing that. So you start with 2 diplomatic relations. So you start with 5 handmaidens, so you can nullify the Sword of Khaine from the very beginning of your campaign, assuming you get like rank 12 on Alariel. That's already the first thing. You do need to get them to rank 12, unlock the skill line. Then you get some influence, trade tariff benefits, and Favor of Isha. Each handmaid increases your control in all provinces. Sword of Khaine reduces control, handmaids increase it. Like, Alariel, even if you don't count for a Sword of Khaine, is the most overpowered legendary lord of the High Elves because she gets these handmaids. And as I stated, a lot of the High Elf economy is dependent on high control or 100 control. It's not progressive. It would be nice if it was progressive control, so you had a reason to actually bother with like having 25 control, 50 control, and all that, as opposed to just like, oh, you either have 100 or you have nothing. That would be nice, because it would give you a reason to care about your empire, as opposed to just thinking about that. Okay, long term, I'll get 100 control, because that's how you approach a campaign right now. But with these handmaidens in her campaign, she nullifies every single downside of the Sword of Khaine, and in themselves, they are very significant. So you're looking at increasing your hero capacity through the roof with handmaidens. And crazy thing about these handmaidens, every other High Elf Lord has to recruit them from a tier 4 settlement, so they can only do so from provincial capitals. You can do so at tier 3. And you can also recruit sisters, though I don't think sisters are worth it in the early game, because you will handle just fine with archers and with light armor. But long term, absolutely. The fact that you can recruit handmaidens and have so many of them in the campaign is a significant benefit. But we're not finished, because there's another benefit in this campaign that may not seem very clear early on, but that's victory conditions. So you see, victory conditions for the High Elves are really powerful, because with your short campaign victory condition, you get hero capacity for all heroes. This is an enormous early game benefit, because Otherwise, it takes you until tier 4 to increase capacity for things like nobles, mages. Lore masters can only be recruited at tier 4 regardless, but you can get significantly more if you can complete your short campaign victory condition quickly. The thing about Alariel is that her short campaign victory condition is one of the most sensical ones in the entire game. I'm not joking. Like, there's so many campaigns where the short campaign victory conditions is something like takes you 30, 40 turns. And that's outside of the territory you have to take. It's just the factions you have to destroy. Like, I love a short campaign victory condition as Malekith, where you have to go on the other side of the map to kill Tyrion. Or I love playing Morathi and having to go kill Hellebron, or deal with Hellebron in some way to achieve short campaign victory condition. That is not the case with Alariel. Alariel has a very solid, well-done, well-built short campaign victory condition. All you need to do is basically kill Nakari and the Scourge of Khaine, but those factions that you would naturally do so anyway. And that's how campaign victory conditions should work, as opposed to what Creative Assembly does in every campaign, in vast majority of campaigns. But suddenly, with that short campaign victory condition actually within reach and level, like say turn 20, more or less, because you can maintain a lot of armies and get the territory, you find yourself in a situation where you can have more mages than everyone else, more nobles than everyone else, you can have more handmaidens than everyone else. You can basically have hero stacks, or quite a lot of heroes, very early on in a campaign. And because handmaidens increase their capacity at tier 3 as opposed to tier 4, yeah, you're going to be playing the High Elf campaign where you get the most amount of heroes of any campaign, and handmaidens are really powerful. So you end up in a situation where you're wielding a weapon of mass destruction that is supposed to have downsides, but you nullify those downsides. You are the most beloved faction in the entire game. Seriously, the diplomatic strength of this is so ridiculous that if you get 50 handmaidens, let's say theoretically, right? It's probably not going to go that far, but you get a bunch of handmaidens in the campaign, you're going to nullify a lot of the aversion. A lot of factions are going to feel towards you, and you're going to end up in really good relations with everyone, which means you can make a world alliance if you want to do so. The only factions really that, I mean, the Disorder factions do hate the High Elves. The Dark Elves really hate the High Elves. But the fact you're nullifying so much of the diplomatic relations might be a bug, though, looking at this kind of thing. But the fact you can nullify so much in terms of the downsides of the Sword of Khaine in a campaign, and nullify the control issues, and improve your trade tariffs, which improves your economy, makes Alariel absurd. It doesn't matter that she's not the most competent legendary lord in terms of her battle potential. She will confederate the ones that are competent of the High Elves. No, seriously, it's like Tyrion, Elfarion, Lefanar. They're going to be far, far easier to confederate when you're playing an Alariel campaign, just because of the diplomatic benefit you get in said campaign.
Do you serve with the warriors of
So it might take some time over here to get the Lefanar under my control. It's gonna take some time with Tyrion. It was a bit unfortunate with Tyrion. I was very close to confederating him, and then he started a war with Illyrian, so I had no choice but to intervene. That was great. He took territory, so there's a penalty right now. But all the same, it doesn't quite matter, does it, when you've got this level of biblical power in your campaign? If you're looking at the World Tour campaign as the High Elves, I cannot recommend Alariel enough. And it's also not just that. Like, one of the problems that High Elves have is that it takes so long to unlock stuff, because stuff is, the good stuff, the good unit variety is locked behind tier 4 and higher. Unit variety, hero variety. Well, guess what all those handmaids are also doing in the campaign? Oh yeah, they give you growth in the territory you visit. So seriously, it's like, Alariel, if you're looking on a world tour, building a massive empire, painting the map in your colors, as I've done over here for a lot of Nagron, fighting factions, then turning them into beloved allies, then this is the campaign for you. It does have a shitty start, I admit, because Defender Wolfone is kind of crap at the beginning, but geez, the potential of this campaign is ridiculous. And honestly, the campaign start is only really that bad because not because your initial opponents like Nakari or the Scourge of Khaine are such an issue. No, it's because you're fighting the campaign in such a way as to limit the territory Elfarion and Tyrion might take, so you can confederate them easier. But yeah, this campaign is something else. Hell, we even got vengeance for Elfarion in this particular campaign. We killed Grom, effectively. That's it. Also, fun fact. just a great fact about Alariel, she can take magical force. She starts with 1. So how to put this? You might take up residence in Laurent if you want to in this campaign. Though in this case, I've decided to add the wood elves. Though, like, it might be beneficial to just let them build up these settlements, and then, you know, once they get to tier 5, you take them over as tier 4 settlements, and yeah, you end up with a lot more hero capacity, because, like, high elves can really benefit from, like, controlling Laurent in a campaign. If that means going to war with Durfu and Orion, so be it. That's all I'm going to say. I certainly wipe out the Sisters of Twilight in this campaign, because, well, they give a lot of money when you defeat them. That's the reason. And they're easy enough to defeat. Well, easy is a proposition, but you can defeat them. That's not the problem, really, in this campaign. There are far harder foes to deal with in a campaign like this that are going to give you pause. And hey, just let's recruit another handmaiden. Also, because you have so much influence in your campaign, because all of these handmaidens are obviously giving you influence. My recommendation, by the way, save a bunch of these handmaidens after you skill them up. Don't do so before you skill them up. Because you get so much influence, you're going to be swimming in it. No joke. You're gonna have so much influence in your campaign, you won't know what to do with it, and that's why Alariel is absolutely ridiculous in a campaign. Costine signing out. Thank you all for watching. Stay tuned for more if you do enjoy my content, because you're supporting me via PayPal or Patreon. Special thanks to Protossx, Kebie, Fingo, JK, Vacre, Alain, Alex, and Daniel, and to all of you who make it possible. Stay tuned for more.